Hello, Venus Angels. Welcome back to another episode of Venus Cove, a podcast about all things spiritual. Today, I wanted to talk about this weird thought that I had the other day and start to question the difference between being a witch and having an interest in astrology. As someone who loves the stars and looks to them for guidance, it made me wonder, do witches do this? Like, is it a big part of their craft, or is being an astrologer its own thing? Who's ever listened to the pod has probably known that I call myself a Venus angel, cosmic ethereal girly, but I also enjoy knowing about witchcraft. I love all things spooky, hence the theme song. But on the outside world, I've thought of myself as a witch. Whenever I talk about my beliefs, people kind of justify that I am one, or I'm definitely spiritual in some sort of way, so it's always been up in the air. Now, for starters, I don't do tarot. I don't really put a lot of focus on crystals, although I do have a couple. I don't do spells, not really, except I think the one time I used all the 4 elements to wish for something, but other than that, all I do really is track the moon and find guidance in the stars. That's it. That's pretty much all my practice and belief system's about. So this thought all came about when I was hanging out with some real witches and people who have dabbled in the craft. We were at a bar sharing what we do. And so one of them said they do spells. Another said they used to do Santeria. Santeria is actually an Afro-Caribbean religion with deep roots in Yoruba and Catholic symbolism. It has a spiritual system with priests and deities called orishas, I hope I said that correctly, sacred altars, and divination rituals. I did some research on this. And so some people may call that witchcraft, but insiders claim it as a structured religion focused on healing and offerings and ancestral relationship and divine guidance, not just spellcasting. But still, there is spiritual overlap. Anyway, then I shared my own craft and said, well, I do astrology, and I don't really do spells. But I think I'm more of a manifester. I like to manifest with strong intentions on what I want. And I couldn't help but wonder to ask, is that witchy too? Like, is that part of witchcraft? And they said it kind of bleeds into witchcraft, but that's not necessarily witchcraft. And so I thought, wait, then what the hell am I? And they didn't really have an answer for me, so I decided to do my own research and figure out if there's anything that can describe what I do in my craft. And I know, angels, you don't have to necessarily box yourself into a category, but I kind of enjoy that to give me some structure or some idea of where to go. So today, I'm going to share with you a little bit about what a witch is and someone who's into astrology. I think in the spiritual side of the internet, there's so many nuances and unanswered questions about who is who and what they do, how strong or intense each guru or witch or reader or shaman is. And maybe I'll do an episode to describe what each spiritual person does, but for this episode, I'm just going to try and answer the question, if you're a witch or just into astrology, and is there a difference? Maybe this could help listeners find out more of their own spiritual journey too. So let's get into it. So first off, let's break this down. According to my research, first and foremost, astrology and witchcraft are not the same thing, but they're kind of in the same spiritual friend group, if you know what I mean. They've been spiritually flirting with each other for centuries. So let me break that down. Astrology is a divination system, meaning it helps people interpret their lives through the movements of the stars and planets. And for those of you who don't know the concrete definition of the word divination, because I didn't really know until I did my research, and I've asked so many people about it, and I haven't gotten a concrete, basic, straight to the point definition. So I looked this up. Divination is the practice of seeking knowledge, insight, or guidance, usually about the future, unseen truths, or spiritual matters, through symbolic systems or ritualized tools. It's like tuning into the universe, spirit, or your intuition using a structured method. Think of it as the spiritual version of decoding vibes. Even in monotheistic religions like Christianity, Judaism, and Islam involve divination because they're seeking guidance, insight, and knowledge. And it's just that they don't call it that and strongly avoid that term. Honestly, it's a branding thing. Also, in monotheistic traditions, divine guidance is usually believed to come from God directly, not through symbolic systems that practitioners manipulate. That's where it separates from things like tarot or astrology. It's where you're interpreting the meaning. So even though the big monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, technically discourage divination, they all have a long history of people seeking signs, interpreting dreams, or using sacred tools to receive guidance, like casting lots, praying for signs, or having prophetic visions. That's basically divine DMs, you know? They just don't call it tarot. But people have always tried to hear from the divine, whether it's through dreams, dice, cards, stars, or signs, and those efforts often mirror divination. But back to astrology. So, astrology goes all the way back to Babylon and then pops off in ancient Greece and Rome. According to encyclopedia.com, during the Renaissance, astrology was actually grouped in with magic and alchemy. So the roots are definitely intertwined. Now, let's talk about witchcraft. Witchcraft is a spiritual or magical practice. It can include things like candle spells, herbalism, moon rituals. They might worship deities, do ancestral work, spellcraft, work with spirits, or simply honor nature and intuition. As Refinery29 Canada pointed out in a 2018 article on the rise of modern witches, a witch's practice doesn't have to include astrology at all, because not all witches use divination. Someone can read their horoscope every day and never consider themselves a witch. So they're not the same, but they've definitely been in each other's orbits for a while. Now, let's zoom out a bit. I wanted to ask a question that may also give some perspective to the spiritual angels on this journey. Can people just become witches, or do you have to be born one? Because pop culture really tends to make the natural-born witch pure and special and way more powerful, and then the ones who learn it tend to be more evil or villainous or use it for bad purpose or intentions. And this is a stereotype, and I'm looking at the craft. This part to me is really special because as a movie watcher, I find the coolest empowering women films to be about witches, aside from Charlie's Angels. I mean, what better way to see visually how much and how powerful and how happy a woman can be when they own their own power, among society too, right? So let's talk about a few of my favorite witchy films. One that's rumored to be making a remake soon. I'm talking about Practical Magic, the 1998 version. There's this one line that Aunt Frances says, I quote, "There's a little witch in all of us." And honestly, that tracks with a lot of what modern witches believe. According to author and witch Gabriella Herstick, whose article on Hello Giggles called "Can Anyone Be a Witch?" is a must-read, witchcraft is a calling. It's not about bloodlines or how many crystals you own. It's about tuning into your intuition and working with energy. You can be a natural witch, someone with heightened spirituality, sensitivity, but you can also choose to develop your craft. Historian Ronald hopefully I said that last name correctly, author of The Witch, A History of Fear from Ancient Times to the Present, breaks it down even further. He writes that in both ancient and modern societies, witches could either be born or made. Some cultures saw witches as inheriting their power, while others believed it could be learned through initiation, devotion, or spiritual awakening. So the answer is yes, you can become a witch if you choose to awaken that part of you. But of course, pop culture loves the natural witch trope. Think Sarah Bailey in The Craft or Sabrina Spellman. It makes for good TV, but in real life, it's more like building a muscle than discovering you're secretly Harry Potter. And now, let's talk about the overlap, because a lot of modern witches do incorporate astrology. Let's talk about how they come together, astrology and witchcraft. According to patheos.com, which has a bunch of blogs from actual practitioners, astrology can be used in witchcraft to time rituals, set intentions, and choose magical correspondences based on planetary energy. For example, some witches cast spells during full moons or wait until Venus is in Libra to do love magic. This is why we are here. Venus Cove, represent. There's even a blog from willfulwitch.com that explains how some witches use birth charts to personalize spell work or align rituals with their zodiac sign's strengths. Like a Virgo witch might do an organizing magic, or a Pisces witch might tap into dream work or divination. So yeah, it's a blend, but it's totally up to the person practicing. So here's the thing. You can absolutely love astrology and not be a witch. You might be out here memorizing your crush's birth chart, knowing exactly when Mercury goes retrograde and sending everyone their co-star compatibilities, but that doesn't automatically mean you're working with magic or doing rituals. On the flip side, there are witches who don't mess with astrology at all. That came up on a Reddit thread from the witchcraft community, where a bunch of witches said, "Nope, I don't track planets, I just work with herbs, spirits, and energy." So again, it's really about personal practice. Let me break it down a little bit more. Astrology, what is it? A system to interpret cosmic energy. Witchcraft, what is it? A spiritual or magical practice. Tools. Astrology uses birth charts, planets, transits. Tools for witchcraft. They use spells, rituals, herbs, crystals. Do they overlap? Astrology? Yes, but they're separate. For witchcraft, yes, but it's optional. Could you be both? Maybe. Up to you. And pop culture totally fuels the crossover. Shows like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and American Horror Story Coven glam up the witchy vibe. But if you scroll through TikTok's #WitchTalk, you'll see that tons of witches are doing moon rituals and posting their astrology content side by side. According to a 2024 article from NerdBot, Gen Z especially is blending aesthetics, identity, and spiritual practice, often using astrology as a gateway to deeper spiritual stuff like witchcraft, tarot, or manifestation. So who knows? Maybe this is my little gateway path to witchcraft as well, perhaps even for you. And I mean, let's be real. Bustle did a whole article pairing zodiac signs with iconic pop culture witches like Leo as Winnie Sanderson or Virgo as Hermione Granger. And that's just to show how tightly woven astrology and witch aesthetic have become in our cultural imagination. So, are you a witch, or are you just into astrology? That is the magical question that continues to pop. Maybe you're one, maybe you're both. Me, personally, after doing a lot of research for this episode, I think I'm just into astrology for now, but I could see myself delving into honoring nature and intuition. Because I'm a Libra and don't have a lot of earth in me, I just can't see myself being so ritualistic. I'm still on my own journey right now, trying to find courage more and more, living authentically me, pursuing my own dreams. And I think that's why I've been gravitated to manifestation. And I'm not sure witchcraft is necessarily the thing I need in my life yet. I don't know if that made sense. I feel like sometimes people seek answers because they want guidance, they want clarity, they want to make sense of things. Life is pretty hard right now, and sometimes the only answers are up in the sky when there's so much radio static down here. The sky is so clear to me sometimes. Even if it doesn't provide me answers, it at least provides me peace, that it's right above me, watching over me. So for me, I'm still just trying to figure it out, and that's the magic of it too. It's personal, you know? When I think about magic, not the movie kind, but the kind that feels ancient, intuitive, and close to the bone, I can't help but think of Sarah from The Craft, because she wasn't this peaceful guru type. She didn't come in fully healed or spiritually enlightened. She was grieving, lost, and still traumatized by her mom's death. But somehow she could still do things, you know? She was intuitive, a little too sensitive, the kind of girl who felt everything deeply, even if she didn't always understand it. And that is often the real beginning of magic. You don't have to be perfect to hold power. You don't have to be all love and light or have some aesthetic altar in your room. Sometimes the ones who are hurting are the ones most attuned because they've already cracked open. They're already in the in-between. Like Sarah, she didn't seek power. It came through her because she was willing to feel. Not because she was necessarily a natural witch either, but because she trusted herself. She trusted her gut even when she was afraid. And pop culture made her look special, but if we really look deep, Sarah was just awake. And if we choose to awaken that in ourselves through our intuition, our grief, our boldness, our softness, then maybe that magic isn't fiction after all. Because like I said earlier, magic isn't just lighting candles or gathering herbs. It's energy directed by will. It's feeling your desire, claiming your clarity, and moving with intention. Whether you use tools or just your spirit, magic starts inside, in the quiet knowing, in the sacred yes. So maybe Sarah wasn't chosen by magic. Maybe she was just brave enough to remember it. I don't think I need to buy 18 candles or memorize my natal chart backwards. I think if you feel drawn to whatever spiritual practice, it's valid. Whether you're cosmic, witchy, or a little bit of both, that's where you belong for that time. And I believe that is all I have for you today, angels. Thanks for tuning in. If this episode resonated, tag me in your moon ritual or send me your birth chart or just shoot me a DM and tell me if you're team zodiac babe or witchy woman. You can find me on YouTube and TikTok at August in Venus. And that's it. My name is Johanna, also go by August here at the Cove, and this is Venus Cove, signing off. Until next time, Venus Angels.